Hey everyone, Tiffany Raine here from Coaches for Freedom. On another podcast today, we have Mr. John Malott. He is a serial entrepreneur and he helps people take their personal brands and turn them into money machines. Today he dropped a lot of jewels and I hope that you guys stay tuned and listen. He gives us some book recommendations. He tells us about his mentors. He shows us how he went from a 15-year-old school dropout who had a felony, a former gang member, and turned his life around to a very successful world-leading authority on home-based businesses. I hope that you guys stay tuned and that you learn something from today's podcast. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Extremely Opinionated. I'm your host, Dr. Travis, and
Tiffany from Small Business Saturdays.
We hope that you can find something that you can utilize in your everyday life from our business owners who are thriving and successful today.
Hopefully we can apply their life experience, expertise, and overall information that they have to share with us in our lives to improve it for the better. Thanks for listening. All right. Thanks, John, for joining us today. I'm so happy to have you with Coaches for Freedom. I really wanted to talk about confidence because I know that you're like a, 10th grade high school dropout. I mean, felon. You used to be a janitor. Like you have a background that many would say is not someone that you would follow for success. So can you tell us how you built confidence coming from that type of background?
Yeah, now that you just brought a tear to my eye, reminded me of my past. I'm like, and now all your viewers have just tuned out. who is this felon, dropout, loser you got on your show here? My goodness. No, look, I joke around a lot. I say that, confidence is the reason beautiful women go out with ugly guys. I'm a great example of that. Confidence is a critical component that, so many people lack because we're beat down so much. I remember growing up, part of the reason, why I dropped out of high school, why I had a drug problem, all these different things, why I was labeled loser, criminal, reject, is part of it, my own self-esteem. Every time those seeds get planted here, I just started to live up to what other people were saying. It became part of, who I was. And really what was happening, I was beat down so much from other people. I started beating myself down so much, which of course, at a certain point, that lowers your self-esteem, that lowers your confidence. I couldn't look you in the eye. I couldn't talk to you with clarity. So what I do, I acted out. I did things that were probably not even in my character. It seemed like it at that time. But because I was living up to, what society expected from a loser like John Malott, that's what happened. So for me, it was a process. I wish I could go back and say there was this one thing that happened and all of a sudden I became confident and I knew I was going to go out there and crush it. It really started from personal development, and it actually started in a drug rehabilitation facility when I was 17 years old. I was locked in this facility because of circumstances, but I had a heart attack from smoking cocaine. And it was in there, and like at the time, it seemed like a curse. It seemed like I'm at the lowest point in my life. I got no friends. I've already destroyed all the relationships with my family. I had no money. All I had to my name was the jeans I went in with, the sweatshirt, and the shoes on my feet. That was all I owned. That's all I had. But it was in there that a guy by the name of Dave was a former outlaw motorcycle gang member, and Dave gave me a book, and Dave saw more in me than I saw in myself. He was the first person that said, stop making excuses, stop blaming the police and the teachers and your parents and everything else. He held a mirror up and he said, basically, it's you, man. You made an appointment to be 100%. He gave me a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to get through. I wasn't a reader. I already dropped out of school. When I was 15 years old, I had my first felony arrest. So I did a lot of time. Most of my teenage years, the prime teenage years, were locked in facilities. So I missed so much of the stuff that, I think a lot of teenagers take for granted. But it was that book that turned me on to personal development. That seed was planted. Later on, I wrote a book with Les Brown, the motivational speaker. And, I love what he always used to say, that once the mind expands, it can never go back to its original dimensions. That's kind of what happened. That's what set the stage for me to search for the information that got me stronger. And my mind kept getting, my mind was messed up. So it took a long time for it to expand, where I could actually walk in the room and feel comfortable, where I could get on a show like this and talk to you and be comfortable. You know what I mean? It was a process, man. And it still is. I never feel like I made it. I'm always like, I question myself. Someone this morning I was talking to, and she was so excited to talk to me. And she said, man, you're you're this big, whatever she called me, like I was some big whale. And I in my mind, I'm like, that's not who I am, man. I'm just John. I'm your friend. You know, let's have a conversation. Anyhow, so that's kind of where it started. So there's this journey that I went on to increase my confidence.
Were your family members like supportive of your journey, or were they like not believing in you at all and they were not supportive? How were your family members like with this transition?
Not supportive, which I can't blame them, because, you know, I did everything I could to destroy those relationships. You know, unfortunately, you know, I lost my sister to heroin when she was 21 years old. My brother's been in and out of prison his entire life and is now just starting to overcome a heroin addiction. It's amazing he's even alive today. So, you know, we came from an interesting environment, and most people around me were very negative, you know, all the family members. My mom had left very early. My dad was a steel worker, you know, who went to work and then went to the bar, went to work, went to the bar. But everything, you know, everything we did was like, you know, you're going to amount to nothing. You won't be anything. It's not going to happen for you. So I didn't have a lot of that in my immediate circle. It's funny later on when, you know, we went on to make a lot of money and went on to make millions of dollars. And a lot of those people were like, man, we knew you could do it. We had your back the whole time. I'm like, you're a liar. You were the first ones to talk crazy at the family dinners and throw rocks. I mean, it was like, you know, it's funny how people show up after everything's built and made, and then they act like they were with you. Hands look like cups, though. You know what I'm saying? They look like this now, but they were not there. They just weren't supportive. And it's sad because I had to look outside of my circle to find the right people. And then eventually I caught on quickly. I had to get into new circles. I had to get around, you know, everyone around me seemed to have my problems. It wasn't until I got around people that had solutions to my problems or were solving their own problems. And I was always trying to get in those circles to get a little better, to get a little bit more. And I still am, you know, I'm always trying to be at the bottom of my circles. So, you know, I've got a pretty interesting circle of friends now that, you know, you see a lot of them all over social media, you know, driving incredible entrepreneurial ventures. And I'm looking to get to that next level, you know, just like, it's like everybody else is today.
I actually really love that, because me, myself, coming from an underprivileged community, which is what they call them now, underutilized communities, and growing up with a single mom, I had 2 younger brothers. It was really tough. We didn't have much money, but, you know, just the environment was so negative. So everyone around us was negative. They all had the same mentality. They didn't know about financial wealth and freedom and how to get out of that situation. So, I mean, was your background similar in that aspect, where that was just your environment? This is all you knew. This is how you grew up. This is the neighborhood you came from. So it's like, how did you go from that to now having these friends and changing your environment the way you did?
Yeah, you know, of course, that it is all I knew. You know, when I was 15 years old, and, you know, I robbed a movie theater at gunpoint, and, you know, it was just what we did, man. We were just disruptive. I had sewed a towel into the back of my Louisville starter jacket, the colors of our neighborhood. And I was doing all kinds of things wrong, but it just, that's what we did. So I didn't know any better. Even when, it's interesting, like I went through drug rehab twice, because after I went the first time, you would think I would know better. I almost killed myself. And I get out, I'm in the best place in my life mentally, because I'm clean. I hadn't been clean forever. You know, it was always from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And then I finally get clean, 9 months, no cocaine, I'm out of all of that stuff. And of course, I'm getting around my same associations. I didn't lose the association. So they convinced me that there's other ways. You don't have to smoke cocaine, because I hit it hard during the, you know, what we now know as the crack epidemic.
Yeah.
It wasn't called crack back then. We were freebasing cocaine. That, you know, of course, now we know it's crack. But yeah. I didn't know any better. But here's what's crazy. The second time around, when I started using drugs again, the second time now I felt bad about it. The first time I didn't feel nothing, because that's just what we did. The second time was like, again, I had that information planted here. So now I'm doing wrong. I'm doing bad. But now I'm aware of it. So the way it was making me feel was different. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I didn't know in the beginning, but after I started getting information, it's knowledge that started to change for me, because now I'm feeding my brain. Now I'm getting around better information. It's funny, because I always say back then I had 1 foot in the hood and I had 1 foot in a book. You know, I was smoking a pipe in one hand and trying to get some personal development in another one.
Love it.
And I was trying to serve 2 masters. Eventually I had to cut one out completely, which was, you know, I had to cut the neighborhood out. I had to cut my friends out. People I used to spend, you know, weeks with, I couldn't spend days with anymore. People I spent days with, I couldn't spend hours with anymore. I had to cut all of it. Even the television, at a certain point, when I finally made the decision that, look, I'm tired of this life. That's who I was. It's not who I would be. You know, there were no TVs. Nothing. I immersed myself. If you got in my car, you know, I was no longer, you know, bumping NWA and the Ghetto Boys. You know, now it was, you know, Jim Rohn and Les Brown and Zig Ziglar. I had to reprogram this. You know, this had to be completely reprogrammed, because I'm so prone to negativity, to depression, to hate, to anger, all of these things, that the only way to get that out is to get new information in. So for the longest time, I didn't know any better. But once I knew better and I did it, then it was different. You know, that's what changed everything.
That's awesome. I think so many people need to hear that, because they can relate to it. So many people are afraid to cut their friends away and their neighborhood and everything they're used to. They're afraid of, you know, that's everything I've ever known. I don't want to leave it behind. So I think just people hearing your story is very inspiring to say, wow, but look what I could become if I change these things. I love when you always talk about branding. I have here what you say a lot. You say branding equals authority, authority equals power, power gives you access, access equals wealth, and wealth equals freedom.
Oh, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You have been listening. I didn't know people were listening to me. I'm like, wow.
This is golden information. Like, this here is worth a lot of money alone. Just this alone. So I just wanted to know if you could speak to that and tell us what you mean when you're talking about branding.
Yeah, look, branding's the critical thing. I didn't realize what was happening, but as I was changing my life, I was changing my personal brand. My personal brand back then was loser, criminal, dropout, drug addict, all the adjectives people used to describe me. That was my brand. And I lived up to that brand very well. And all of us have our brand. And if you start asking people around you, what do you think my brand is? They'll tell you pretty quickly what they think it is. If I'd have asked back then, I didn't need to ask, because they were already telling me. And if you've had rough parts in your life, you already know what they're saying about your brand. So I caught on pretty quickly without understanding what branding was. And I had to change. First, I had to change myself so I could change the image in the way other people perceived me, in the way they saw me. Because I wasn't that person. I knew deep down inside who I was and whose I was. I just had to make it clear to other people. So when I talk about branding equals authority, what I'm saying is we've got to establish ourselves as we're the authority. Like I teach our mentoring, you know, students now. I teach them, you know, number one, get yourself a one-liner. You know, for me, I got a bunch of one-liners, depending, because I've got a bunch of different companies and I've got a bunch of different industries that I play in. And one of them is real simple. It's, you know, John Malott is the world's leading authority on home-based businesses. Well, why am I the world's leading authority on home-based businesses? Because I say I am. There's no certification class. I didn't go through some special thing. I don't have a degree in that stuff. I one day said, I've been working from home for 20 years. I know this left left. I know how to teach someone how to make money and have a 6-second commute to their spare bedroom office. You know what I'm saying? I know how to work the tax benefits. I know how to pick the right opportunities. I know what's real, what isn't real. So I said, look, I'm the authority on this. You know, if you want to learn how to do this, then why would you go to anybody else except for the world's leading authority, which is me? So I became the authority there. And guess what happened? Once I believed it, and I can say it to you with clarity and conviction, look you right in the eye and say, John Malott is the world's leading authority on home-based businesses. You want to get in a side hustle, you want to make some money from home, you'd be crazy to call anybody else, especially when I'm giving you the information for free on how to do it. So that made me the authority. And now watch this. The authority made me powerful. I always tell people it's hard to pack a punch in the present if you have no faith in the future. So I teach people how to get powerful by just getting their brand right, becoming it. Look, you could be a great bird watcher. You could know every, you know, saltwater fish in the ocean, and you could become an authority there. You don't need to have everybody. You don't need 100 million people. Get 100 ambassadors for you as the authority. Get 100 people saying, this is what she does. This is what he does. Now all of a sudden you become the authority, and that power opened up access. Now they're inviting me to stuff. I'm getting invited to dinners that I would never be invited to, and I didn't have to pay, man. When I was broke, I always had to pay. You get rich, you don't have to pay anymore. So I'm getting flying me to stuff. I'm like, I like this new treatment. They're acting like I'm somebody. Red carpets out. I'm getting invited to movie premieres and front row at basketball games. I'm like, man, this is good. So that gave me access. And it's not always what you know, it's then who you know. So I got introduced to people that then opened up more doors for me. They opened up more doors, and then some of those doors led to some big deals, companies that we got involved in that are now going public and all these different areas. things that I never would have gotten myself, but because I focused all that time on branding equals authority, then of course, you know, authority equals power, power equals access, access equals wealth. And what do I want? In the end, I want to be free. So here's what I'll give you one more thing and I'm going to shut up.
No, this is good. Keep going.
I reverse engineer everything. So what do I want to be? I want to be free. How do you get free? Well, you need money. In America, I don't know about other countries, but I know in America, you will not be free if you don't have some cash.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to reverse engineer it. I want to be free. So I need to get wealthy. You know, I was thinking get rich at the time. Now I know the difference, and we can talk about that later. But I want to get wealthy. I want to have some real wealth that I could pass on to children, not just like the kind of money I used to think was wealthy back in the day when I had a big stack of cash in my back pocket. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was rich. You know, I wanted to have some generation wealth where I had investment. But anyhow, so I would reverse engineer it. And most people, they focus on the wealth and they focus on the freedom. So all I do with everything, I go all the way back. And what I had to go all the way back to the brand. What is my image? What does the brand look like? How is it being portrayed? Where, you know, what are other people seeing me like? And that's where I had to change that in order to get to here. So here's where I was. Here's where I wanted to be. The gap between the two is called execution. So I had to figure out, how do I execute? How do I get my brand image better? Because people thought I was a loser. No one's going to call me up. Nobody's going to want me on their podcast. Nobody's going to want me on their stages. You know what I'm saying? And so when I started to change this, it slowly, because people don't realize my first year as a full-time entrepreneur, I only made $4,000 for the whole year.
Wow.
That was a joke. That was a complete joke. Everybody, I would, you know, go to bed at night in the fetal position, sucking my thumb. You know, it would like, man, I suck. But, you know, I kept going. It took me 7 years before I finally cracked $100,000 in a single year. And then from there, it went to 200,000 next year, then $1 million, then 2 million. And anyways, you know, it just continues to go. But I had to go through that 7 years of pain, 7 years of development, 7 years of praying, 7 years of crying, you know, all these different things, 7 years of ridicules, you know, all this stuff. And that led to the wealth. So many people are trying to jump right to wealth and freedom. And then, of course, they take pictures in front of other people's Lamborghinis and they show all their cash. And, you know, I understand why they're doing it, but they're trying to skip the process. They're trying to take shortcuts. And unfortunately, in the end, it never works out.
And that's what I love about you, John. You seem very authentic, you know, just from your Facebook and like your Instagram and just following you for some time. That's what I love, is you seem very authentic and this is just who you are, you know what I mean? And you care about people and you want to share that knowledge. But then you see so many other people that are marketing their products and coaching and stuff, and they don't seem like they care. Like they seem like they just want to sell a product. And I know you talked about being humble. And I think you're very humble and relatable, but how can people like differentiate between those who are real and those who just want to make a quick dollar, you know?
Wow, it's so tough. I'm fooled all the time. You know, I've lost tens and tens of thousands, maybe actually hundreds of thousands of dollars, dealing with people that, you know, I call it the fake facade you could break with a rubber hammer. I'm a real trusting guy. You know, I can't understand why some people, look, nowadays people are showing up and you can smell commission on their breath because all they're thinking about is their commission. Yeah. See, I came up, when I was coming up, one of my mentors was Jim Rohn, who I was fortunate to actually work with directly. But Jim Rohn was always talking about service to others, you know, equals or leads to greatness. And it was always about other people. Paul J. Meyer, billionaire Paul J. Meyer, who I was connected with, and you know, God bless both their souls. Paul J. Meyer was the same way. He wrote books on how he inherited a fortune, but he talks about his poor family, immigrant family that came to America. What they taught him was, and then he wrote a book called The Art of Giving. So he talked about how he was only working at one point in his life to give all the money away. You know, the guy was 70 some years old, challenging 20-year-olds to push-ups. He's climbing mountains, scuba diving. He had more energy than anybody that I ever met in my life in his 70s. And it was because what drove him every day was to earn money, to give away, to take care of other people, to share. So I grew up with some great men. I came up around these great men. So there was no other way. The seeds that we'd be planting in me weren't about go get a Lamborghini, go get all this stuff, which we later got, which doesn't mean shit. I'm just telling you that the new car smell wears off very quickly. What I get excited about now is if I can help you get a Lamborghini, if that's what you want. I try to figure out, what do you want? You know, so if you want to be home with your family every single day, well, let me help you. Let me help you get home with your family every day. It was, I had a mentor that said, you know, find out, you know, what when it comes to picking people, he said, find out you know, what someone else has done to get the things that they have, and then do exactly what they did until you get that thing. And so for me, I mean, I got 4 daughters, you know, so of course you got to get rich when you got 4 daughters, you know,
Yeah.
you know, night vision goggles are expensive, you know, shotguns. I had no choice. I had to make some money because I couldn't have my girls growing up in this neighborhood that was so destructive to boys. Forget about how it is, you know, females, it's a whole nother level of challenge. And I knew I had to get my kids out of there. So that drove me every single day. I got rich, not because of me, because for me, I would have been cool. I could have stayed in that environment, you know, for a long time. I could live in a damn tent by myself. But when God gave me daughters, because he knew he had to change my heart. He had to soften me up. And then everything from that point, when I realized when I was driving to make things happen for other people, that's when I did my best. That's when things happen. So I want to, you know, our last company, you know, we were doing about 220 million a year in sales. We had 327,000 affiliates in 8 countries. All I could think about is how do we make the next 6-figure income earner? How do we get the next 7-figure in? My days were consumed with how do I get you to get the next level? How do I get you paid and promoted? That's all I could think about. And because of that, I believe, you know, I'm pretty confident that's why we've been blessed. That's why I have freedom today, is because we set so many other people free. You help enough other people get what they want, you will never worry about what you want. I'm sorry, I get going. You get me going and I'll start sweating and I'll start talking. I get excited about this kind of stuff.
No, that's a gem. I think people really need to take heed in what you're saying, because that was a big deal. That's a big deal. Like, do it for others. Stop thinking about just what can I get out of it? What can you give to others? That I say that all the time. That's how grandma raised me. So, you know, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. You also, I saw that you said here, you were talking about go to where the masses are going and get there before they do. So tell us what you mean by that.
You know, I'm always looking for, you know, where's everybody moving towards? What are people looking at? You know, of course, today we're living a big entertainment society. So it's pretty simple to see, you know, we consume music and entertainment at rates we've never consumed before. So I can see where that, you know, if you can get there before the masses do. Look at, you know, 6ix9ine. I mean, this kid, it's amazing to me. You know, the millions of people that follow him, you know, there's masses of people that are tuned into brain dead stuff today. So it's funny. I'll tell you a quick story, and 6ix9ine just triggered it. Do you remember the show with Flavor Flav?
Oh yeah, Flavor of Love.
Flavor of Love, yes. So from that show, there was another show that spun off it from some crazy wacko girl, New York. It was called I Love New York.
I Love New York. I remember her. Yep.
So listen, so one night I come home, it was early in my entrepreneurial career, but I would be working late, you know, I'd be doing these events and I was in another city, and I get back to the hotel and I made the mistake of turning on the TV and the I Love New York show was on. Now, you know how those shows are, it'll get you, like there'll be some shocking thing and it sucked me in. The problem was it was an I Love New York marathon night.
Oh my God.
So it's like, now it's finally, I've been watching it all night. I feel disgusting. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to take a shower. But here's what's crazy about that show. When I, at the very end, on every show, you can go back and look at this, they stamp one, like they got one of the producers' names that produced the show. Oh. It didn't dawn on me till almost 5 o'clock in the morning. At the end, I read, and it said, one of the producers is called Mindless Entertainment.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, you know, these producers, they built this stuff for a bunch of mindless people, or people they assume are mindless, give them this junk that's doing nothing for them in no way, maybe even making them worse or more negative or whatever. And it finally hit me, man, we're producing stuff like this like crazy, so that we're becoming a mindless, and these people are getting rich off it. You know, I can imagine a whole bunch of white guys in the boardroom says, look, let's create this mindless entertainment, and they'll consume it like crazy. We'll all get rich. They'll complain about rich people, but we'll keep doing it, and they'll keep consuming it. It's the craziest thing ever. It's a cycle that you can never get out of if you continue to stay in that vein. And that's what a lot of this stuff reminds me of today, because the masses, it feels like we're dumbing down in a big way. And that scares me a little bit. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, where is like we're proud of disrespecting people. We're in the cancel culture. So if you slip up, if I make a mistake, if I say something wrong on here, there's a good chance I'm canceled everywhere. But I make mistakes, man. I mess up. And the very people that are canceling other people, I would hate to see what their houses look like. You know, like, don't throw rocks when you live in a damn glass house yourself. So I've got to the point where I'm just like, man, you can't say anything anymore. You got to be very careful because people turn quick on each other, man. We're not loving each other. We're not trying to lift each other. We're trying to figure out, I'm waiting for you to mess up so I can go blast it everywhere and bring you down and mess up your brand and mess up your life if I can, and then laugh about it. I don't know. Let me stop on this topic because it doesn't feel right to me. I feel like we're heading, you know, into something much, much worse, that we're on this collision course. Not that the world is bad, because there's a lot of great people out there, but the not so great people are the ones that seem to be dominating everything today. And I just took your question, I took it way off on
No, it was perfect, actually. And I think that's why we started this nonprofit, Coaches for Freedom, because we could see so many people being led in the wrong direction. And they don't have any leadership. They don't know what to follow. They're just programmed all day. They entertain themselves with television and music and movie stars all day and gossip and celebrities. They don't have anything going for themselves. So I'm trying to show people that, hey, you can have a cool guy like this who can show you guys how to make real money. And it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be monotonous. It doesn't have to be a 9 to 5. It could be, you know what? You could work from home. You could grow a business. You could actually become something. You could become a business. Your personal brand could be a business. You know, people don't believe in themselves that they could actually do this. So if they see someone like you and they say, you know what? I could do it too. You know what? He came from this background. I could do it too. Like, what advice would you give to like your 18-year-old self?
Shut the hell up. Check the ego. I keep telling them I had, and I understand, because I had this big ego. I had nothing, you know. I think I put, you know, fake spinner rims on my Pontiac 2000, 2-tone, 1-tone rust, 1-tone dirt. It was ridiculous. I had a hole in the floorboard of the car. You could see the lines. I was always worried my daughter Lauren, when one day I'd look over and she'd be out the floorboard, because I wasn't even smart enough to put her in a seatbelt back then.
Wow.
But I would tell myself, look, I have now tattooed. Now I tattoo stuff everywhere. Because I think I'm getting old. I got to remember stuff. I get on stage and if I forget what I'm about to say, I just look at one of my tattoos and say, oh, okay, play the hand you were dealt. Or, you know, but one of my tattoos says ego is the enemy. And I have it on the hand that I sign with. So I see it all the time, because I have to remind myself. Because I remember one time I think I made like $14,000 in a month, way, way back. And I thought I had made it. Like, you couldn't even talk to me, man. My head was so big. I'm like, I'm walking different, talking. And thank God one of my mentors came in my life. He said, bro, what? Shut up. He said, you have lost it. He said, you forgot where you came from. And and you're going to be on your way back if you don't get it straight. He said, your ego's out of control. He's like, back then, mentors could talk to you a certain way. Now, if we tell someone something, you know, they're going to put us on blast. They're going to hate us. They're going to be mad. You can't even tell people stuff anymore. But what I learned is to check the ego, man. And I know there's a whole movement in social media. I hear some of the big influencers talk about you should be cocky, you should have ego. I don't get it. I think it's a mistake. I think that, look, do we really like people that have big egos? Do we really like people that are cocky and all about themselves? I mean, I don't know. We might cheer for them for some of their wins because we're nice people, but you see when they finally trip up, which they always do, when they finally slip, when they finally fall, then we go at them hard. then they really get beaten. There's nobody there. So if you're humble and you fall, there's a really good possibility someone's going to show up and say, hey, man, you know, you helped me here, or you did this. Let me open a door for you. Let me help you. You know what I mean? It's a completely different mentality for the long term. You have to be thinking long term, though, to understand it.
I love that. And I say all the time, you do reap what you sow. So if you're going to reap a harvest, make sure that you're sowing good seeds, because it comes back. It comes back in one way or another. It comes back. So I wanted to really talk about failure, because a lot of people, I think, they may try something and it doesn't work out. And they're like, you know what? I suck at this. I'm a failure. I'm never going to be good at this. Yeah. I'm done with it. What can you tell people about failure? Do you look at it as it's over, or is it like data to, you know, do better next time?
Well, you're talking to probably one of the biggest failures on the planet. So this I know well. Like I for sure, I could write a whole lot of books about failure. This is my whole life is about failure. But if you ever see me on a stage speaking, you know, basically I just tell stories about, you know, going from one failure to the next failure without losing enthusiasm. Like, I think that because I was labeled a failure in school, the only class I went to in high school was gym class. And then we had a swim class, which I like both of those. But I also had a challenge. I couldn't walk in the school I went to. I couldn't even walk through the halls during, you know, general population when everyone's out, because I lived in a neighborhood where we had a street gang, but we wore our hats a different way than the predominant gang inside the high school. So that prevented me from being in the hallways during certain times. And they knew my locker because they would, you know, write all over my locker. And I had so many altercations during that time of my life that I knew if I am going to go to school, I got to sneak in when everybody's already in class. And then I would just go to the classes I liked. Then I would go hang out at the mall for the rest of the day. And then eventually, you know, I got arrested, and that ended my whole schooling career. So where were we? What were we talking about? I never let my subject get in the way with what I want to say. Failure.
Talk about failure.
Yeah. So there's failure right there. That was the beginning of failure. So of course I was being labeled failure. And when I was in the Milwaukee public school system, they gave me what's called a central office suspension, which basically meant I could never go to any Milwaukee public schools again. I was kicked out of all of them. And I remember my dad, you know, got this, they sent home a packet, and in the packets, everybody that's had contact with you, and they write these long things about you. And I remember my dad's like reading it. John, you're a ship without a rudder, and basically you suck, and you're a loser. And he's reading all this stuff mad. I'm like, Dad, you didn't go to school either. He was 17 when I was born. He had dropped out of high school, been through all kinds of stuff. But of course, he was like, he expected me to do different and be better because I was the oldest, the firstborn. But it was failure after failure after failure. Even in business, like I said, it took me 7 years to crack 100,000 hours because I was so rough. But I never quit, man. I think the challenge is people stop. They quit. They don't know. You don't even know when you're on the 99-yard line. You know what I'm talking about? It's like you've been doing it. Don't give up right now, because it could be that next phone call. It could be that next meeting. And that's what happened to me a lot of times. It was all of a sudden, or someone would call. I figured out that if I just kept doing it, that I would get lucky. That all of a sudden something would happen. Maybe it didn't happen because of the people I was dealing with, but I think it happened because I was dealing with so many people. I kept doing it. And all of a sudden something came out of nowhere, made me look like I was lucky. No, but you know what? While you were at the beach, you know, I was in a book. While you were at the club, I was figuring out how to get to the next level, you know, later on. I tell people, look, we shouldn't go to the club so much when we're young. We should wait till you get about my age. Now I'm in the club all the time, popping bottles. I never have to stress about it. It is more fun when you're older and you can do more. Anyhow, that's a whole nother talk. My whole nightclub talk.
No,
but yeah, so look, and John Maxwell, one of my friends, he's wrote a lot of leadership. And he talks about he wrote a book called Failing Forward. And I think it's a great book, makes a great point about just you just keep moving. You can't be living in the past. You can't, like, if you have a bad situation and something messes up, take the day off, but tomorrow plan, do, review, plan it out, go do it, and then review the results, and then fine tune, make an adjustment here, make an adjustment there. You need to find somebody to help you. If you're not, look, I was not sharp in any area. I can't spell. My math is terrible. Thank God I married a woman who's got a college degree, and she's smart, and of course she's pretty. She's the brains and the beauty in the outfit. But I got around people. I got really good at getting around people that had the things that I lacked, which was everything. So everybody was like, come into my circle. Let me learn. Let me watch. Help me do this. Help me do that. And that's another part of being humble. Sometimes our egos are so big. You know, we got to be the man. We got to be the woman. And we don't allow other people to come into our orbit, because as soon as they say something, we're already questioning them, or we're already acting like we know something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that was a big part of my early failures. Had a lot more to do with the deficit I was coming from, and where the successes started happening is when I humbled myself enough to start asking for help and asking for mentorship and guidance and direction, and that made a big difference.
That's awesome. That's impressive. I was just thinking about, a lot of people say to me all the time, like, I'm not good at entrepreneurship. I can't really be a business owner. I'm not cut out for this. They just don't think they could do it. Would you say entrepreneurship is for everyone?
I would say it's for everyone who can't stand a 9 to 5. I would say, it's for anyone who would like to actually be free. But if you like getting up early, you know, and going, you know, getting stuck in traffic and then going to a place where you're not sure they like you and you know you don't like them. If you like the idea of working for someone else for 40 years and then going to greet at Walmart when it's all done, then I would say, no, entrepreneurship is for sure not you. Yeah. And if you like the idea of paycheck to paycheck and then the government taking, you know, about 50% of your income from taxes. Like if people, when you ever get, I don't know if you've been employed, but I was employed one time. Yeah. And I remember when I got that damn check and then I looked, my check was for whatever, you know, the gross was like $300 or whatever. But then I looked at all these people that were taking a piece. Some dude named FICA is in there taking my money. All these, I don't know what this is all about. But by the time I'm done, I got 100 and something. I'm like, this is what people are going to college for. So they can have what I loved about entrepreneurship is that I got a chance to do it the way I want to do it. And then I paid the government after I got paid. That meant after I paid my car note, after I took care of my expenses, they got what was left instead of them taking it from me up front. I think employees would be, there would be riots in the street if we actually had to give them the money later. You know what I mean? If they didn't just take it from us and they said, okay, now you owe us, the people were like, oh, hell no, I'm not sending you nothing. This is my money. But we're so programmed and conditioned. Why? And can I do something really quick with you?
Yeah.
So we've been programmed and conditioned. First off, of course, corporate America programs very early on. It was Carnegie, the great steel baron, who at one time we were all entrepreneurs. It wasn't like this. You either farmed the land or you had a business or you didn't eat. We didn't have government programs. We had all this stuff to take care of us. None of this existed. If we're going back then, if a virus hit, you ain't getting a check from nobody. You're going to still have to go to work, go farm the land, go sell some tomatoes on this. I don't know. It just wasn't going to happen. But Carnegie, he changed the game. Carnegie started building these steel mills, started inviting us in from all over the place. And he said, look, I'm going to give you some security in the form of a little check. So we traded our freedom for his little green piece of the paper. Now here's the challenge. Carnegie was smart. You see the Carnegie libraries and all this stuff. You know what that's about? Carnegie knew he had to educate our children, the next generation, to go to work for his kids in the factories. In the schools that he also helped create. See, Carnegie owned the factory, but around the factory, he owned the houses that the people were coming into. Real estate 101, more people coming in, real estate values went up. He got richer. He owned the stores we had to shop in. I'm telling you, you can research all this stuff. But here's the biggest thing he did. He owned the schools. He created the school system, the public school system we know today. When the bell rang at the school, it was the exact same bell ringing inside the factory. We were being conditioned like Pavlov's dogs.
Yeah.
Man. And we just fell for it. We just started fighting for those jobs, and we want good jobs, and we got degrees only to get a better job or higher up on the ladder. You're still on the damn corporate ladder. You're still in the rat race. Even if you win the race, you're still a damn rat. I mean, the whole thing. If we really just stopped and see what we're fighting for and what we're so upset. Why can't I tell my kids, go to school for sure. I'm not anti-school. I'm go to school. Shit, if I'd have known they partied like that in college, I would have went to college. The relationships you can build, the connections, the networking, shit, go to school, get smart, get this stuff, but then take that information. And why shouldn't you, instead of going to work for the sales agency, why shouldn't you own it? Instead of going to work for the morgue, go be the morgue owner, whatever. You get my point?
Yeah.
Instead of going to work for a car dealership, own the car dealership. It's so easy to do today. There's so much money out there. If you're just creative enough to think of how do I serve somebody? How do I bring value to them? If I bring enough value, they're going to pay me for it. And we get mad at CEOs that are making look, if you help a company make $1 billion, should they not pay you 50 million, 100? I don't know. It's like, the stuff drives me crazy. If you go out and do a whole bunch of work, I saw that recently there's a thing in Congress right now to tax the billionaires. Now, it doesn't matter to me what they do, but they want to tax them 60% of their income.
60%. That's crazy.
Would you want to go to work and then the government takes 60? Why go to work then? I'll take my billions. I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take it to another country.
Yeah.
Fend for yourself. I'm done.
No, absolutely. That's a real good point. I would have to hide all my money because that's ridiculous. I don't know.
I always go back to, I think there's and I'm not a Bible expert, but there's this whole do unto others as you would have done to yourself type thing. I think if we followed more of the golden rule type stuff, I think we'd be okay. I think we'd be all right.
I agree with you 100%. And I know you were saying like your first year in entrepreneurship, you made like $4,000, which is like, oh, but I just wanted to know, like, what's something you wish you knew when you first started that you didn't know that you think could have, gave you better results?
That people are very difficult. I wish I'd have known that. I didn't understand how programmed and conditioned we were. I didn't know in the beginning. I thought we lived in America, the land of the free, and we all wanted to be free. And I didn't know. I didn't know it'd be so challenging. Like when I became a business owner, I didn't know that people would be lined up against me, especially the people closest to me. I didn't know that I was going to go and help complete strangers become millionaires, and my own family, wouldn't participate. You know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't know people wouldn't participate in their own rescue. I had no idea. I didn't know that's the way it was. I wish I had known that, because I would have adjusted. And now, look, it is what it is. So over time, I learned to adjust the way I communicate. I learned to adjust my approach. But I was rough back then. I didn't know, so I would communicate different. Like I would talk crazy. I'd say, "What is wrong with you?" And I would make you feel bad about I'd use things like, "You have a job just over broke." Now, look, if someone's been programmed and conditioned to that's what they're supposed to do, it's really not their fault. They just need some nudging. They might need a book. They might need some time, but I used to get mad all the time. I'd be mad at you, for not wanting to be free, for not understanding or complaining about other people, but not understanding the process. So I wish I'd have been more in tune earlier. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. It would have saved me a lot of money and time.
I love that. I know you were talking earlier about having good people around you and your wife and your partnership. And would you say that your wife has contributed greatly to you guys growing and expanding? And do people need that partnership? Does it help? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I've got, I used to say I'm not a relationship expert, but I'm starting to think maybe I am, because I failed. I failed so many times. I've been married twice. I tell people, look, I'm not, Dr. Phil or whatever. I mean, that's not who I am. I've been a mess in a lot of this stuff, but I think it's because I've learned, I've lived, I've done everything you shouldn't do. I know exactly what not to do in a relationship right now. Yeah. I'm very in tune to my partner, and instead of the way it was before, for me, and especially my first marriage, it was about me and my needs. And look, I'm the man of the house and all this BS that we put out there. And all I did was hurt the family. Why communicate? I bring home the money. You should cook. You should clean. I wasn't in tune to her. And so that was my fault. The second marriage, I thought I was a little bit better, but I still had a lot of growth to do. I'm a kid. I'm 50 years old in 18 days. I'm still a big ass kid. I'm still I'm just starting to mature. I'm just starting to get some of this stuff down. But I would tell you this, my wife we don't compete with each other. We complete each other. Again, there's so many areas where she's incredibly strong, and I let her shine, man. It's my job. It was Miles Monroe, one of my great mentors in the spiritual side of things. Unfortunately, he's dead too. But Miles Monroe taught me, he said that we're supposed to be the foundation for the house. He was talking about men and going back to men as the man of the house. We puff up our chests, and yet we're not doing anything to support our families. We're out. We go to work, then we go hang out with our buddies. We go to Vegas for a guy's trip, and then we mad at our women if they want to go with their girlfriends. But he said men are supposed to be the foundation. He says, what does that mean? It means in real estate, if they got zoning laws, and if the windows are broke, they won't condemn the house. If shingles are falling off, they won't condemn the house. But if the foundation has a problem, they'll condemn the house. So what happens as a man is sometimes we're broke. Our foundation's messed up. What we're supposed to do is hold everybody up. So if my wife falls, I got her. If my children fall, I got them. That's supposed to be my job. I'm not supposed to be out in front, putting everybody on blast, yelling at everybody in the family. You know what I mean? So I've learned to communicate differently with the people I love and that I care about. And I communicate it now. There was a time in my marriage, my last marriage, I wasn't putting out there all the time how in love I was with her, holding hands in the mall, all this stuff. I don't know. I come from my dad, a steel worker who was a womanizer. He talked more crap about women than any man I ever met in my life. And now I'm like, I'm proud. Why would I get married? But because of that, we're stronger. Two together. Think and Grow Rich, the mastermind principle. Two minds together create a third, more powerful mind. So look, you can do it all on your own, but if you create a third, more powerful mind, you become unstoppable. And then there's something, again, in the spiritual realm, and I'm not good at this, but it's something to do with a 3-chord strand or something. You know what I mean? Now you got, for those that believe in God, they got God and they got their partner and me. And the problem challenge is most of us don't keep our commitments. And if you don't keep, and I don't get mad at people that don't keep their commitments, because 60% of the world don't keep the commitments to God and their spouse. You know what I'm saying? So I just know that for me in my house, this is the best way. This is what continues our growth. This is what brings blessings into our house. Might not be for everybody, but it also keeps me from, all the frustration and anxiety and nonsense that you have to deal with. If you don't get to look at that old saying, happy wife, happy life. Yeah. That's for real. That's for real. Now she just walked in. She's like, yeah, that's right.
No, she said that's right. That's right.
That's right. Don't tell her the other things I've been saying about her.
I love seeing you guys together. Good looking couple. I love you. She knows what she's talking.
She definitely makes me look better. If she was sitting next to me right now, your audience would say, damn, John Malott, he's a good looking dude. The stuff just kind of rough. It kind of gets, the power of association. The stuff gets, on you a little bit.
I know that's
why
right.
I need some filters. Make sure you put some filters on me. I don't know if I need some dog ears or something, but hook me up.
It looks good. It looks good. I think you're all right over there.
I like you.
What's one thing that you could say that people can expect from your program that is going to be life-changing for them?
Yeah, well, first off is that my program was never designed to be a program. It was, people hit me up about a year and a half ago, and people I knew said they were taken advantage of by another entrepreneur, where they were dropping like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. They felt like they were completely bamboozled. And they told me what the program was about. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 90 days and I'm going to just do this. I'm going to teach you the stuff that you were trying to get that you didn't get. Unfortunately, it turned into something much bigger. And now it's almost 2 years later and I'm still doing this. And now we're smack dab into, how to monetize your personal brand. And so I'm teaching people how to make the one-liner that then leads to the lead generator, that then leads to the PDF or the ebook or the webinar. I'm teaching people how to create their TED Talk from there, then how to automate the whole email and text message drip campaigns that will eventually lead to them putting out an offer, which then leads to monetization, then leads to collecting stories of influence and how you've impacted people. All this stuff people are selling right now for $10,000, $20,000, and I'm like, this is not rocket science, man. This is, and it doesn't take anything away from. Some of my friends are mad, like, bro, you got to stop doing this because we make big money doing this stuff, and I'm like, but anybody could do this stuff. It's just it's simple. And then we're going to go into, how to become a great speaker, how to have your TED Talk prepared before you ever get on the TED stage. If you do that, now you're invited to podcasts. Now you're invited to live Zooms. And eventually, I've made millions and millions of dollars just from being on people's live stages. And you know what I do? I tell my story. I tell my story. Some people, I think, probably hate me, but enough people, love the message. And they then open up doors. I've had, sponsorship deals. I've had business deals, all this thing that came from that. So if you can get the branding down and that leads to your confidence, which is what I love what you're doing, because you're taking people so they can you give them the foundation so they can be prepared to do all this stuff. You're speeding up the process for them, helping them, and then they can move through this stuff a lot quicker. But for me, Nigel and I are about to launch a new company with our billionaire partner, Terry LaCour. We're about to launch a new active lifestyle, healthy health and wellness. We're going to blow people's minds when we come out with this new company. But we're going to invite everybody to participate. We're going to have an economic opportunity where we're going to create 6- and 7-figure earners, like popping them like popcorn. And that's where I get really excited when I can actually not only just tell someone and show someone, but then also provide the vehicle to get there. So, okay, I can get you mentally prepared. I can get your brand right. I can get you all this stuff. But, if a door doesn't open for you, let me open the door. I've got the Build Your Empire, where we used to do events all over the world. I can get you on our stages and all this stuff that that we can now not just provide the information, which a lot of people sell information. I said, look, let me give you the information, but then let me give you the vehicle where you can, I can help you get paid on top of it. So we're super excited about that. So we're going to be scaling a lot of things back. I've got a company going public, a pharmaceutical company that's going public next month. That's exciting. So we got all these different things, but that's the big thing we're focused on right now is this new company we're about to launch.
I love that, John. I know that I know I'm looking at the time. Did you have any like final thoughts you wanted to leave people or tell people how they could find you? And
Yeah, I would just tell people that when your negative emotions, get in the way of your goals, get rid of the negative emotions. What people do is they get rid of their goals. They stop their goals. No, I teach and I'll leave you with this. I teach my kids, I've been doing this, now my oldest is, 28 or something? Man, oh man, I'm old. And my youngest is 11, and I when I take them to school, we always do the same ritual. I say, baby, what kind of day are you gonna have? And she'll say, Daddy, I'm gonna have a great day. I'm like, why are you gonna have a great day? She says, because I'm gonna make it a great day. And I said, well, what does that mean? She said, it means karma. Whatever I put out there, I'm gonna get it. If it is to be, it's up to me. And then we wrap up right before she gets out of the car. I have 4 daughters, so this applies to all of them. Right before she gets out of the car, I'll say, baby, what are the 2 things you have control over today? She'll say, Daddy, it's my actions and my attitude. We're walking around like someone else controls our attitude. We get mad about something doesn't go our way, and we give up. We throw in the towel, we cry, we cuss other people out. I'm like, no, you have total control of that. So I'm just telling people, when your negative emotions get in the way of your goals, don't get rid of the goals, get rid of the negative emotion. Jump up and down, start, say something positive, call you on the phone, get on one of these podcasts, get something to push that crap out and get yourself back on the mix. If you want to find me, Instagram is where I invest most of my time. On my Instagram page, John.Malott, Malott, or you can find me on the Build Your Empire page. That's my other page. And I don't have somebody running that stuff for me anymore. I'm in the trenches. I'm engaged. So if you reach out to me like you did,
I did.
There's a good pot. It might take me a while. It takes a while to get through all that, but I try to respond back to everybody, and I try to answer all the comments. Sometimes it's hard to do, but I'm for us. I'm for all of us elevating. All ships rise with the tide type thing. Hey, God bless you. I appreciate what you're doing. This is the stuff I wish I would have had when I was younger. It wouldn't have been 4,000 my first year. It wouldn't have taken me 7 years to get 100,000. It would have condensed that learning curve quite a bit. So I appreciate what you're doing. You got to keep doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well, John, and your wife as well. And I hope that you guys stay blessed. I love watching you guys grow, and I want to be a part of this too. So I got to find a way that I could join this new venture you guys are doing as well. So
hit me up. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
It's who you know. I appreciate you.
You too. God bless.